Hey there, I'm James of Pistils and Pollen. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to show you some of the plants that aren't thriving under my care, or rather have reached a difficult moment in the life of their plant experience. So I am excited, I'm a little bit nervous, I'm a little bit anxious because I don't like to share plants that look sad. I like to share the joy and the inspiration of plants. But sick, healthy, dying, sunburnt plants, it's really a part of the plant life experience. So I'm opening up to share that side. It's a little bit of vulnerability on my end, but I hope you'll come along for the ride. Okay, so we're gonna start with one of my favorite plants of all time, my Platycerium superbum. Let's just bring this down and I'll show you here. So this is my mounted Platycerium superbum. It's a really cool plant, I think, and I love it so much. It's actually not doing poorly, I think. It's looked better, surely. If you've been on my Insta, if you've been on TikTok, you've seen me mount this plant. You've seen the most beautiful, gorgeous pictures of this plant when both sides are covered in greenery. And right now, it just doesn't look like that because guess what? Plants have a lifespan. They have ebbs and flows. And over the winter, I did get scale on this fella. Why or how? I don't know. Scale, insects, they're just sort of in there. I always have plants coming and going. It's impossible to know where they come from in my situation. Now, I will say that if you have a new plant in a small collection, maybe you want to isolate that plant. That's sort of a best practice, right? So isolate that plant because it could be a source of new pests. I just have them coming and going so frequently that it's just not practical for me. So they came into my home, they found their way to this beloved fella. I put a little bit of stress on it. And so what happened is this frond did not fully develop. And so you can see how it just basically grew, and it was starting to grow, and it should do what this one next to it is doing, where it just grows and grows and becomes massive, and it just didn't do that. When that new frond sort of comes out, what naturally happens is the frond behind it starts to turn brown and crispy, just like this guy right here. And that's a natural, normal part of this plant's lifestyle, because then as this becomes dried and crispy, it contributes to the biological material behind the plant that when it rains, it absorbs that excess water and it sort of acts as a little bit of a sponge for the new roots as this plant continues to grow out and expand. So all of this dead brown material that may look a little unsightly is actually a natural, normal, healthy part of this plant. What isn't natural and normal is this aborted leaf, if you will, how it has just sort of stopped growing. And that was because simply there was some insect pressure, some stress on this plant. And this plant was like, no, I'm done with this. We're gonna take a break. And it did. It just sat there and did nothing for a long time. I cared for it, but now you can see it's actually back on the mend. You can see it is sending off a new leaf on this side. This is a baby. It looks very natural, very healthy, and eventually it's gonna continue to grow up and it's gonna overtake this other mature leaf behind it. So it doesn't maybe look so great, but I promise you this plant is on the mend. It's going to look good again, and I'll have photos of it again on Instagram before long. I'll just pull this guy down. Here's another Platycerium. It's sort of a similar situation. This one did not have pest pressure. What happened is I used to keep this one in my bathroom. I like to keep ferns in my bathroom, but it was just too low of a light condition for this particular plant, I think. And so I've moved it up here to my garden room where it gets a little bit more sunlight, and now because we're in the summer months, a little bit more humidity. And you can see, even though this is natural, I should have some more fronds growing up here, and I don't, but you're starting to see this little fella right down here. So I think we're on the mend. There's also cute little new pup coming in right here. So I think we're gonna be all good with this plant. Even though it doesn't look very good, we're definitely gonna save it. We're not gonna toss it. All right, so I'm taking you now to one of my beloved plants here that is not looking so hot. This is my Strelitzia nicolai, my white bird of paradise, and I had this one Oh gosh, I had this in the corner, the dark corner of my home, supplemented pretty much only by grow lights. Now, Strelitzia and nicolai are plants that just love sunlight. They love bright light, and I didn't have space for it. And so I stuck it in the only space in my home where I had, which was a dark corner. Now, I know better than that, and I thought I was okay because I had a grow light. And for years, in fact, 2 winters, we made it through successfully, where this plant seemed to be putting out new leaves. It was happy, it was thriving, and it was doing well enough. It was surviving in that dark corner with supplemental grow lighting. What happened though, the leaves started stretching. So you can see this. They started reaching for the little rays of sunlight that it knew were just beyond its reach. And so it started losing that vertical shape and started really going horizontal. And so it was no longer working in my space. It was taking up too much space and starting to crowd the other plants, and it wasn't looking really great. So I brought it up here to my greenhouse, and in the process, I put it outside for a little bit. It really tore up the leaves. Now, you can see these leaves right here. This doesn't worry me so much because in nature, this is what this plant does. It's by design, it rips and shreds itself like this in response to the wind. So I know that really bothers some people. That doesn't bother me. What does bother me is sort of this browning and this crispiness here, and just the general lack of, you can see where I have cut back all of these fronds that weren't doing so well. And you know, at this point, I'm just not really happy with it. You can see that it is sending up a new shoot. You know, this one was sending up a new shoot too. And what happened there is I accidentally, moving it out here, hit this on the ceiling of my door frame. And so I snapped it. So imagine this beautiful new leaf snapping in half. Well, now what, right? So this plant has just really taken a beating, both physically and in terms of not giving it the conditions that it really needs and wants. I haven't repotted it. It's in a really tiny pot, so it's also root bound. I've just really neglected it. Not enough soil mass, too much sunlight, or not enough sunlight, then too much sunlight. I've bent it, I've broken it, and so honestly, this is a plant that I might consider replacing. I can find them relatively inexpensively. It's a majestic plant. It's a big one, but honestly, I'm thinking about it. So maybe this is a toss and a replace. This is one of my favorite beloved plants, and I'm having a really hard time with it. So this is my Anthurium pedatoradiatum. It gets its name because it has these big radiated leaves. I've had this plant for maybe 6 years, I think, going on 6 years, certainly 5 at least. And the thing with it is it came down with pest pressure this winter. I noticed some scale insects. In fact, I can actually see one right here that I'm gonna get with my finger. And I treated it. I think this was maybe around the holidays. I neglected a lot of my plants around the holidays this year. So the plant was stressed and it came down with scale insects. And I can see a little bit more right here. I treated it a few times with some organic treatments, mechanical removal. I washed the plant down. I did all the things that I recommend doing. And the plant was just, those strips or those scale were just coming back over and over again. So when the summer happened, I finally lost my patience and I said, you're going outside, little guy. I brought it outside and now you can see what's happened to it. A number of things. Sunburn, because I just moved it outside. I didn't transition it. I recommend everybody transition. In fact, you can go on my website and review my blog post on how to successfully and safely transition your indoor houseplants so that they can live outside in the summer without this happening. But I didn't do it. I lost my patience and I said, you're going outside. I don't want bugs in my house. And this is what happens when you do that, sunburn. So these leaves are all a result of sunburn. And I was going to cut them off, but I decided to save them and show them to you because we do have some new leaves. These 2 leaves have come on since the plant was moved outside. That's why they are not sunburned, but they also don't look healthy. They're chlorotic. So I had a drip watering system on this, meaning that every day, like a lot of my outdoor plants, this plant was getting watered. Well, that's too much. There's not enough nitrogen. There's not enough of those NPK, those macronutrients to feed this plant, and it's getting too much sun. So it just doesn't need all that chlorophyll in the leaves to sustain it. And so this is what happens. You get these washed out leaves that are chlorotic, they don't have enough nutrients, and it's too much sunlight. So this plant is just a hot mess, if you will. And it really does make me sad, to be honest with you, because it is a gorgeous plant. I sell them in my plant shop, so I can't easily replace it. However, this is a mature plant. There are multiple little stalks in here, and you can see it takes a long time for the plant to mature to an age where it can put off these large radiated fingers. And so I'm not willing to give up on this plant just yet. I'm going to bring it back inside my garden room, even though it has the scale insects. I'm gonna first trim off all the excess leaves on here. I'm not gonna fertilize it right away, but I'm going to monitor it. Hopefully, when I move it into my garden room, give it a little bit of sun protection, cut back a little bit on the watering. I'm gonna be ruthless about these scale insects, and we'll see if I can go ahead and save this plant by the fall when it's time to bring it inside my house again for the winter. Most of my plants, most of the time, are pretty happy, right? I spend a lot of time and energy to look for the ideal location, the ideal space in my home. I know a lot about plants, so I can usually make sure that I have that good light pairing for the plant. I can put plants that like bright sunny spots in bright sunny spots. Plants that like shade, I can put them in a lower light condition environment inside my home. Plants that I know need a lot of water, I can make sure to give them a lot of water. And plants that like to maybe live in drier conditions, I hold back on watering. I don't water them as frequently. So I already know a lot of those things, but having said all that, you know, if I neglect a plant, if I know what a plant needs and I still don't give that plant what it needs, it's probably not going to do very well under my care most of the time. If I know a plant, a needy, thirsty fern, needs to be checked on every single week, and I don't because I go away on vacation or I get busy preparing for the holidays, for example, that plant is going to droop. Life happens, and I'm not immune to a busy, full life outside of my houseplants. And I know many of you aren't either. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like your plants are just too much, then it might be time to take a little bit of a step back. I mean, that's what I've had to do. Unfortunately, a lot of my professional life now revolves more and more around plants. I mean, if my plants don't look good, I'm sharing my life with you. If my plants don't look good, it's hard for me, right? Because I feel like my job is to inspire others. But I think if I'm going to be authentic about that journey of inspiration and joy that plants, I think, do legitimately and honestly bring to my life, I think that it's important for me to also acknowledge that I'm not immune to burnout. I'm not immune to sick and sad plants. And if anything, I just hope that the way that I have learned to deal with that, if I can share some aspect of my own journey and the way that I deal with the grief of plant loss, if you will, not to be overly dramatic about it, but it is a little bit of grief, right? When you have spent hours, sometimes years of your life caring for and nurturing another life form, another creature, and you've seen it thrive, you've been on this journey together, maybe you've overcome thrips or scale or sunburn or drought, or maybe just intense bouts of neglect, and you feel like you've lived through so much with this plant. I know that there are plants in my collection where I surely feel that way, and some of them, if I lost them, I would feel a little bit devastated. And I think the appropriate word for that is grief, because if we treat it like grief, if I treat the loss of a beloved plant like the loss of something that is significant in my life, then I think I have more tools at my disposal, mentally, emotionally, to recover from that grief, to acknowledge that it is okay to have loss, that loss is a part of life, and it's something that that is worth trying to work our way through constructively. So I think acknowledging that, and like any hobby, saying, you know, maybe it's time to take a little bit of a pause, to pare back my collection, to reduce my collection, to get rid of the things, the plants in that collection that are not bringing the joy and the energy, that require too much, that drain me rather than bring me life and joy. So paring that back to that core group of plants that do spark that joy for you, and maybe removing, gifting, or giving away those other plants to others, that's its own sense of joy in and of itself. At least it is for me, and maybe it is for you too.